Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we make this custom mold using laminated 2x4s. So the mold you'll see here is made by laminated 2x4s, and I get those at the big box store. I buy the premium 2x4s, not the ones that are totally crooked, the ones that are just a little bit crooked. And with that, I can put them on the CNC router, and I can flatten the top and the bottom. After that, I can laminate them with glue, and as you can see here, put them in strips this way. And just by coincidence, these ones are darker, so you can sort of see it actually pretty well on the video. And here's a 2x4, here's a 2x4, here's a 2x4, here's a 2x4. So they get skimmed on both sides before I do the glue up. When it comes to doing glue ups like this here, precision is very important. This is why you don't see any voids. You see some knots, but they don't matter. The router just carves right through them, just like they're nothing. But everything feels nice and solid, and there's no voids. That's very important, especially for thermoforming, because any kind of void that you'll have here on the surface especially, what will happen is thermoforming is a very hot process. So this is actually put this way, and the ABS or whatever plastic they're using is heated, goes down, and it gets sucked in. What the customer does here, they actually drill holes all over this, and that creates a vacuum and it just sucks down the, so not molten but melted plastic, and it sucks it right down to form whatever shape this is here. That's also why it's important to have, as you can see here, there's a lip all the way around. So after the process, either using power tools or just a regular knife, they just go around it, they cut it out, and that's how you have your tray. Now if you're wondering about the surface quality of this, it's actually really, really good. And you have to keep in mind, thermoforming depends on the thickness of the plastic they use, but generally any sort of small deviation on this, you don't see it on the other side of the thermoforming mold. So the thermoforming, you have two sides. You have the side that makes contact with this, and you have the side that doesn't make contact with that. So from this here, they can make either another mold that's the opposite of this for their production, or they can just use this one. As for how many units you can make with this is not meant to be millions of units. If that's the volume that you need, we would have to make this out of aluminum. It costs dramatically more. As for, this is 2x4s, but I could also make it out of oak, out of maple, I can make it out of any hardwood or softwood. But from experience, I don't know, the 2x4s, the fir or the pine comes out really, really good with thermoforming. It's very easy to sand. It's very easy to clean up with Bondo, because it will, almost sort of wear out, so to speak, after a while. And Bondo does a great job of just cleaning everything up and fixing whatever sort of issues you might have. And because everything's solidly glued and you have perfect seams, you don't have anything opening up on you either. The hardest part of this whole project, honestly, is finding straight 2x4s. And I get the premium stuff, which is definitely more straighter. I find it has a better density profile than the very, very cheap, crooked stuff that just falls apart. So you gotta make sure you pick the right stuff to start the mold with. So it's just to give you an idea of how this is laminated again. So here's one of the scraps from this process. I'll move up to the camera a bit. So these are the 2x4s, and you can see them like this here. Plenty of glue, but you can see the surface here is perfectly clean. That's what you need. A little bit of a crack here. There's always some cracking on the edges, but again, really good seams. That's what you need. Now for the router, you can see the 2x4s here as well. Now the orientation of this doesn't really matter that much. I've probably at this point made hundreds of laminated of every kind of wood species. And when it comes to something like this here, I don't really notice much of a difference. They say you should rotate them and do that kind of stuff. If it wants to warp on you, it's going to warp on you. And there's not much you can really do about it. All wood will eventually warp. So what the customer, our customers who do thermoforming molds for, obviously, for them, what they do is they actually glue this on, 3/4 inch plywood once they get it in their shop, exactly where they want it to be at their spec. And they glue it down and it never moves after that. So that's something we could do here in the shop as well. But everybody's got like a different sort of platform size and specs that they got to work within. So we find it easier just to make the mold, ship it over to them. They drill all the holes, they set up exactly the way they need it to be, and they go ahead and go into production. Now in my shop, I actually have a planer. And I spent a lot of money getting carbide bits on it and everything. And I did that because I wanted to offset some production to the planer so that I could do other stuff with the router, because I can't run both at the same time because I'm only one guy. What I found very quickly is nothing beats the router. Absolutely nothing. No matter how talented or what have you are with a manual planer or power planer, the router just does such a better job, more efficiently too, a lot faster, and also the quality is a lot better. So that's why I'm able to get very, very, very good seams on this. And that's especially important with thermoforming, because you got to remember, this thing will get hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold, thousands and thousands of times. Now, 1 or 2 times, basically even MDF works as a thermoforming mold. If you only got to make 1 unit, MDF is great. After about 10 units, MDF starts to delaminate and fall apart. And that's where using actually softwood works really well. Now, you can also make these things using hardwood like oak, maple. If you want to go crazy and use zebra or whatever else, that's totally fine too. Poplar works well as well. But I found 2x4s to be the nice mix of cost to machine wear to production speed to like everything sort of goes together with 2x4s. Now, for larger density material, you got to go slower because you have the same bit, whether it's going through 2x4s or it's going through, zebra wood. The problem is the bit going through zebra wood will definitely not last as long. And these are not cheap bits. These are not Amazon bits. These are bits that cost a couple $100 each. And they wear out pretty quick because of the kind of work I do here in the shop. So when I'm doing 2x4s, there's almost no wear on that bit that I use to do this work with. Now, the nice thing about the flattening bit that I'm using here is that I have carbide inserts that I could rotate around. And that helps tremendously because generally after doing 2 or 3 jobs like this, I need to rotate all the carbides, and I'm just doing 2x4s. There's so much volume of cutting, flattening 2x4s, because I gotta flatten 2 sides and then I gotta flatten the other 2 sides after the gluing. There's an incredible amount of wood being processed through this wood chipper, and it does a great job of it, but you really see the wear and tear on the bits doing this type of work. You gotta remember, it's not just 2x4s as well, especially when I'm doing the 3D carving. It's also the dried glue. Dried glue is very, very hard. So the bit is hitting hard, soft material. Now for this here, I'm doing a glue up. A lot of people say I waste a lot of glue doing this, and I just tell them glue is cheaper than wood, especially when you're doing a production thing. I'm doing this, I'll have no voids. I'll have absolutely no problems. I try to cheapen out on the glue, save a couple cents here and there. Guess what? I go through all the process of making this thermoforming mold. Then at the very end of it, when I'm doing the carving, I see holes. And that is a horrendous result when you do this kind of work. Because then the customer needs to use a lot of Bondo and a lot of other stuff. And you don't want to end up having that problem at all. You want to make it as best as you can and spend a couple extra bucks on more glue than you need, totally fine. It also acts as a really good indicator. So you get an idea of how dry the glue is throughout the whole mold, not just on the edges, but on the inside. And generally a couple of days, this thing is dry, but it's nice to have indicators of dry glue all the way around to double check that. So how big and heavy is this mold? This is 29 inches square. So from here to the bottom that's on the CNC router table, that's 29 inches, a little bit more than 2.5 inches thickness, which is a good thickness. And of course, for the whole surface here, there is some deviation, but it's no more than, I'd say about 1 inch plus or minus on here. And what I mean by deviation is the design that they have, not error rate that I have. The machine I have is within the thousandths of an inch. So any sort of thing you have here in the 3D file, usually I work from STL files. So I actually have a 3D model of this in the computer. And from that, I do all the programming and the CNC work to get it to produce a real life version of this. As for weight, it's roughly 35 pounds, and it will stay that weight for as long as the customer needs it. If they want to add more weight to it, some processes, they actually have it reversed. So for them, what they do is So as to the size of this finished thermoforming mold, The size is 29 inches from lip to lip, here to here, so it's square mold. A little bit more than 2.5 inches thick, and overall the entire surface here is nice and clean. It could be sanded a little bit, but it's just to get rid of like small little things that really don't matter. You have to remember, thermoforming mold, the plastic is the thickness, and that's how much detail or resolution you end up getting from the finished product. Now, as for weight, you're looking at around 35 pounds, I would say, for this mold. So it's a good hefty size, it's a good weight, and it's a very good consistency. The nice thing about having a heavy mold like this is heat. There is heat put onto this, but because it's almost like welding, you know, you have a very thick table, you could weld a lot better because it's almost like a heat sink. And this acts like a wonderful heat sink. Now, although all of my videos are sped up, this is sped up craziness because it takes a very, very long time to actually do the carving out of the 2x4. It's actually kind of exhausting for me too, because I gotta watch this whole thing. And something that people don't realize is CNC routers will tell you before a problem. If you listen for it, you'll hear it. And with this machine here, I have SK tooling and everything. Well, I guess the tripod was getting hit by the table here. You can see that. Small things you don't notice while you're filming. Anyways, when you're doing a lot of carving like this here, you'll hear the resonance of the bit because only a small piece of the bit is actually touching the wood here. Unlike, you know, generally carving where you're going through 3/4 inch or a couple inches of wood. This, you maybe got maybe 1/8, 1/16 of the bit touching the actual material. So you can really hear that yee all the way across. And if you stop hearing the yee, that tells you right away the bit's broken and this job is probably scrap. I've had that happen before. And it generally happens right around the end of it. The bit gets too hot and it starts to have issues and break off. Now I'm lucky with this thermwood. I've never had that issue with this one here because it is such a rigid platform. And I have SK tooling, which really helps tremendously with the resonating that happens, or the resonance, but it still happens. Now, if you hear yee, then it goes a higher pitch or the pitch changes or that kind of stuff. And it's not a regular pattern because when you're doing this, of course, there's a regular pattern to the noise. But if ever that pattern gets broken and you listen to it, you know to slow down the machine or to speed it up or to change something because something changed during this. Now, of course, this is laminated 2x4s. So that means you have different densities of wood across the whole thing. But any sort of large deviation, you hear it really, really well. And that's the exhausting part. It's watching this happening and listening to it. And you can also see me cleaning off the top surface of this on a regular basis. Because what I'm doing is I'm comparing the surface I'm getting here to the simulation to make sure that I got the optimal settings across the board for this project. So if you're looking for a custom thermoforming mold, the easiest way is to get an STL made. Most shops have that or get a graphic designer to make that for them because that's what the customer needs to approve before they go into production anyways. And from there, we make the file and we ship it out to your door. It's a pretty straightforward process. We can, of course, make this out of different woods. It all depends on the volumes that you have. If you have a lot of units, like in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, definitely aluminum is the way to go. But anything below that, 2x4s is easy to work with. It's easy on machinery. It doesn't wear things out too fast as well at your end as well. Because you got to remember, you got lots of holes in this and you need some certain strength to it because this is a solid block. But once you have drill holes all over it, it sort of weakens a little bit. But we found with this here, it stays rock solid. So if you're looking for custom thermoforming molds, contact me at CNCKing.com. We'll make it for you and ship it right to your door.